As a child, we all long for a hero. As a society as a whole, we search for that leader that can be our hero. But as we mature and as we grow, it dawned on us that the hero is inside every one of us. And in the world's social media, we all start at zero. And slowly we search deep within ourselves to find who we are. And we have that moment of truth where we embrace that the hero that we've been searching for has been there all along. It is living deep inside of every one of us. And we start embracing that journey and we become that hero that we search for.
Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to Zero to Hero. Today we have probably the best time guest I've ever brought on the show, being that it is Super Bowl week here and our Kansas City Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. Couldn't have imagined that's going to happen, but we have Jeff Goodman. He is the CEO of TicketSmarter.com. So let's go ahead and bring him in. Jeff, how's it going, man?
Great. How are you today?
Oh, excellent. I'm pretty hyped up. I've been wanting this week to be over since the beginning of last week. So I just wanted to skip right to the Super Bowl after that amazing AFC Championship game that we had here. But living on a high, man. How you doing?
Doing great. Obviously excited that the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl once again, and obviously 5 consecutive AFC championships. You can't complain. So yeah, very excited. I'll be heading down to Phoenix, meeting my son there, who's a freshman at UCLA, and we're planning to go to the Waste Management Open on Saturday, and hoping to go to the Super Bowl on Sunday. Haven't secured my seats yet, but plan to do so here in the near future.
I assume they're coming from TicketSmarter.com as well.
They are.
Good. Good deal. Yeah, it's funny. We were just talking about some of the pricing on some of these events before the show started, and kind of how crazy it goes back and forth. So obviously being Thursday before the game, for anybody that's listening, when are you thinking that the best time, if you haven't got your tickets, you're wanting to go, when are you thinking that the best time to buy your tickets might be?
I think that it's very interesting. We have about 2,000 tickets that are listed on TicketSmarter.com. And I think right now is definitely a very good time to go online and look for an option if you're already in Phoenix or planning to head down there today or tomorrow or over the weekend. The prices have come down considerably over the last 24 to 48 hours. There were about 1,500 tickets out there for resale even just a day ago, and now there's a little over 2,000. So that means there's inventory that's obviously hitting the marketplace. And that is going to bring prices down. I think, when the Chiefs secured their spot in the Super Bowl, tickets to get in the building to State Farm Stadium were over $5,000 just to sit in the upper level. And that's dropped down to the $3,300, $3,400 range now on our site. Plus fees, but it's dropped down considerably over the last couple days. So I think now is a good time to take a look and figure out if you're planning on going. I think you're buying it at a good time.
Absolutely. I mean, it's dropped by basically a mortgage here in the last couple of days. So save yourself one of those mortgage payments. Get on there now if you're planning on going. They are, considerably dropped compared to what they were a few days ago. So
sure,
get in there and get your tickets. TicketSmarter.com, guys. So tell us a little bit about TicketSmarter. How long have you guys been around? What's the difference between TicketSmarter and some of the other sites that are out there?
Sure. We started out in ticketing in 2010 as a ticket broker that really just resold tickets on the secondary marketplaces that have been in existence for a number of years. We ran a number of private labeled websites from 2012 to 2019. We launched TicketSmarter actually in 2019, and as a competing marketplace to compete with the other sites out there. And our focus really is on making sure that fans can go to and enjoy live events, and we try to keep the fees to a minimum. Our all-in price, even with the fees, tends to be cheaper than any other site out there, whether they even claim to have no fees. We really are aggressive with keeping our overhead low and passing that savings on to the consumer. We have partnerships now with over 400 partnerships, including over 400 universities, over half of Division I athletics, 27 of the conferences, including the Big Ten and the Pac-12, the Rose Bowl Stadium, ESPN events. At any given time, we have typically 125 to 135,000 events listed for sale on TicketSmarter.com. We now have moved into the primary ticketing space. We power about 50 properties across the country, and that's growing, every day. There are a number of festivals that we power, including in Kansas City, like the new Country Roots Festival, which will be headlined by Chris Young, Trace Adkins, Gabby Barrett, Clay Walker, and Jody Messina and Lone Star, to the Phase Fest, headlined by All American Rejects and Plain White Tees, and Tacos and Tequila, with headliners like Flo Rida and Little John. These are out at like the Legends Field where the Monarchs play. We're actually doing the primary and actually the ones issuing the tickets, as well as the secondary market. And so we continue to partner and grow and look for opportunities so that fans know about TicketSmarter and they can make sure they're getting the best possible price they can get on their tickets to go to live events.
That's awesome. And obviously we're a Kansas City based company. This is a Kansas City based show, and TicketSmarter is based right in the Kansas City area at Overland Park as well, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we sell tickets obviously for anything from the Super Bowl to going to see Taylor Swift or Beyonce anywhere across the country to a Broadway show, but we are based in Overland Park over off College Metcalf. That's correct.
So Kansas Cityans, man, I don't know where you're buying your tickets from, but if it's not TicketSmarter, you're wrong. We got to support the hometown ticket place here for sure. Now, tell us a little bit about, obviously you were mentioning the primary market, the secondary market, right? So obviously that's, you kind of get that right from kind of a layman's standpoint, but talk a little bit about what the difference is there, in the primary market versus being in the secondary market and what the benefits are.
You bet. So we, as a secondary market, means there's an initial primary purchase of the ticket or the actual issuer of the ticket, meaning, Access or Ticketmaster would be, or Tickets.com would be the three most common ones that people would know of. Like at Arrowhead, it's Ticketmaster, or at Kauffman Stadium, it's Tickets.com. And at T-Mobile Center, it's typically Access, or it could be even Ticketmaster. That's the primary marketplace. That's actually then the ones that are issuing the barcode and the ticket, and then the ticket is resold on a secondary marketplace. That's the secondary market. We not only do secondary market ticketing, but we help power primary rights holders to be able to do their primary ticketing and save them money as well. There are a lot of fees, obviously, when people buy and have seen on sites like Ticketmaster and Access and Tickets.com, and sometimes the percentages can be 25, 30%, and they're charging significant fees to the rights holder, to the team, or to the university as an annual fee, and passing on pretty significant fees to the consumer. And our goal in that side of things as well is to be able to save the rights holder money and allow them to be able to power their own ticketing solution, so they don't have to use some of these companies that have been around a long time that charge a significant fee. Because ultimately, all that people want is a ticket that works and they get what they paid for. And when they scan it, it can get them to their seat. Obviously, no one really cares whether the ticket came from Ticketmaster or Access or Tickets.com or TicketSmarter even. They just want to make sure the ticket works, and if it can give them a good price, that's all they care about, and that the ticket's going to work.
Absolutely. Yeah, there always is that hesitation, right? When you're not going through something like a Ticketmaster, one of those names that are out there of, especially when it's great pricing, right? When it's on par pricing, it's like, okay, we're probably okay here, but you get those great deals. There is always that hesitation, which I think is where the brand awareness really comes into play, right?
I agree. And I think that's where we've worked really hard over the last couple of years. And obviously with the pandemic, it was a very challenging situation for our industry, but we really worked hard over the last couple of years to try to build up brand awareness and make it where we could build up credibility in the live event space. We have partnerships and integrations with USA Today and Gannett and the Sporting News. So if you go onto USA Today's website and you go to their schedule and scoreboard pages, or go to Sporting News and look at their schedule and scoreboard pages, we have direct integrations so you can buy tickets as you're looking things up and reading articles. And we've partnered with the Big Ten and the Pac-12, and we have had over the last few years a bowl game, the TicketSmarter Bowl out in Birmingham, and we've partnered with entities across the country to add to that credibility. Everything from universities to conferences to even the circus. In fact, the Garden Brothers Nuclear Circus will be coming to Kansas City at Oak Park Mall. They set up a 2,000 seat capacity big top in the parking lot. It'll be at Oak Park Mall. I think it's in April or May this year, and we do the primary ticketing for that. Tickets are, if you make sure you buy them in advance, tickets are like $30 for adults, $15 for children, and it's basically humans gone wild is their tagline. So it's a neat, fun family experience, and that's really what we're about. Is we want people to enjoy live events. I got into this because I enjoy live events, and I have since I was a kid, and some of my most memorable experiences relate to attending live events.
Same. Yeah, I'm absolutely with you there. We were big Chiefs season ticket holders when I was growing up, so I love going to that stuff. And it becomes a passion, right? The concerts and the events that you can go to. That's awesome. I didn't know that we had a big top circus coming in. I'm gonna have to go take my kiddos down there and check that out. So
they are pretty cool. It's I intend to be there as well when they come through town. It's a neat experience, and definitely a lot of entertainment for very, very inexpensive. So
yeah, absolutely. You seeing humans go wild for $30. You can't
yeah.
You can't pass that up. That's awesome. So Jeff, let's go ahead and get into the meat of the show here. So not TicketSmarter, right? But who is Jeff Goodman? Give us your elevator pitch on who you are.
Yeah, I mean, my background, my degree originally was going to be an engineer. I went to the University of Texas. I graduated from Blue Valley North. I'm a Kansas Citian. Went to school in Texas. I ended up having a degree in economics. Worked in sales for a number of years. Finished my MBA at UMKC at Block in Management Information Systems and MIS. I was a recruiter for a number of years in the recruiting world, placing IT professionals originally, and then placing attorneys actually for a number of years. And then we got into the ticketing space. Again, I've had a passion for live events since I was, growing up, since I was a kid. And, I think, as far as my background goes, I'm very analytical. And I have always kind of had a background in a passion for sales as well. And so what I'm doing now has really lended itself to that. I'm married, and we have one son, Jacob, who's again a freshman at UCLA. And, we are really passionate about live events and travel. And I think that gives you a little bit about my background and what motivates us.
That's awesome. Yeah, the UCLA mentioned too. It's funny. I used to live out in Long Beach. I didn't realize how hard of a school UCLA actually is. A lot of people make that UCLA USC comparison, but they don't know that UCLA is actually on a quarter program, right, where they're hammering out credits.
It is. That's correct. I was on a semester program. Most of the country is semester, and I'm just learning about the quarterly program. And so, actually, when our son was back for the break, he started up on January 9th, and we flew back. We flew with him to go back, and we actually stopped in Vegas, went to the Chiefs Raiders game at Allegiant,
Nice.
And it's a great stadium. Although, of course, not a Raiders fan, but it was fun to be there. But they do have a really nice building. If Chiefs
Yeah.
fans haven't been out there, you should make a little Vegas run to go to a Chiefs game. You can have a lot of fun in Vegas and then catch a Chiefs game. And then we flew on to get them back settled in back at school. And actually, we're fortunate enough to have an opportunity to go to the CFP, to go to the national championship, even though we didn't have a horse in the race. Being that I'm a Texas grad with TCU and Georgia, was hoping for a little bit more competitive game, but it was fun to be there. And in fact, speaking of UCLA, who plays at the Rose Bowl, that was our first partnership that we did in 2019. And we did a deal with the Rose Bowl Stadium as their official resale marketplace. And that was, very special. They took a chance on us in that regards. And being a Texas grad, I was at the Rose Bowl in 2004 with the game just before being in the ticket business. This is back in 2004 against Michigan when it was the Rose Bowl. And then it was the national championship game against USC with that great Vince Young game. I was at that game back in 2005. So getting that as our first partnership was really, had a lot of a personal element to it as well. So.
That's awesome. I love when that works out, where it's like that passion is there, and it works out in business. That's great. So speaking on that a little bit, so obviously you've worn quite a few different hats career wise. What was that kind of moment where you decided, hey, I'm going to go out and do something like TicketSmarter.com?
Well, it's interesting actually. In 2010, when 2010 was an interesting year. I had been in recruiting for a number of years. Since at that point I had been in recruiting about 10 years, and there was a downturn obviously in the economy at that time, and I was placing attorneys, and it was becoming more challenging at that time, and my wife and I, Heather, were looking for something for her to do to make additional revenue and make some additional money at that time. And I had always been a season ticket holder for Chiefs and Royals tickets, and maybe sold them on the secondary market and made a little money that way. But if you remember the decision, I know we don't have an NBA team here, but if you remember the decision with LeBron, does that ring a bell? When he had a show when he went to Miami Heat. And so I came into work the next day and I said, I think we have an exhibition game coming to Sprint Center at the time, now T-Mobile. Let me see. I think that's his first time he's going to have a Heat jersey. He's going to wear a Heat jersey. So I went online and I think I spent about $7,000 on my Amex and bought 75 to 100 tickets. And we were putting them on out there for resale. And so that was kind of my first step into it. And then from there, we even put ads on Craigslist. And I had someone come to me and say, hey, can you help me with something else? And I said, well, what do you want? And she said, well, I'm looking for tickets to Usher. And I knew I had an American Express card, and there was a pre-sale. And so we were able to secure her 2 tickets for front row and like a meet and greet to Usher. And from there, we kind of said, hey, we're on to something. Let's see if we can make a business out of this. And so I would kind of work on it in the evenings, trying to figure out what we would buy. And Heather, my wife, would work on it during the day. And it was something we did out of our home for 2 years. And then in 2012, when the All-Star game was at Kauffman, it just, as it reached towards July, became too much, and it was really infringing upon my day job. And I was working till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then getting up at 7 and going to work. And it became too much after doing that for 2 years. And we decided to give it a go full time doing that. And now we've got about 15 employees, and we're again over at College of Metcalf, and made it a full-time business. Obviously, we're now 13 years later. So
that's awesome. What a good story of just kind of pushing it in, really. I mean, you kind of went for it, right? Kind of inadvertently, but that's a great story, great origin story on how it The 7,000 on the Amex, that's fantastic.
It is, yeah. I mean, in doing something like that, in hindsight, obviously that's a small amount when you talk about this entire industry and the volume of amount of money that's spent on live events and ticketing. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely very challenging. Revenue dropped during COVID on March 12th, March 13th in 2020 by about 95% for us. And sometimes more, but in general, that's about, it was 90% plus for the entire industry, whether you were Ticketmaster, Axis, whoever, AEG, whoever it was in the industry, because live events were pretty much brought to a halt. So it was definitely a challenge. And but I was asked during that time, and in a lot of things where artists would offer something, digitally, where we did the drive-in thing, or people were offering some streaming offerings to make ends meet, and artists were doing that just so they could connect with their fans during that time. And you had obviously empty arenas and empty stadiums where people were playing. But people asked me in interviews if I thought that would become the norm, and you would have people with empty venues or empty arenas. And I said, absolutely not. I mean, people have been going to live events since the Coliseum and Shakespeare, and there is just something about going to an event, and with whether it's 2,000 people or 100,000 people, and sharing an experience together, whether it's a drag race or a concert or the Super Bowl. There is just something about that that really brings people together with a shared experience. So I don't think that will ever go away. And I know that, and they interviewed players, especially like in college and in the NBA, once they brought people back to live events, to say, hey, they were the first to say their energy was different with having fans in the stands, that the game was not the same. Obviously, they went on and played, and that was their livelihood, but they didn't like playing in an empty arena. So I think that there is something very special about going to live events, and we're glad to be part of it.
Yeah, I remember it was really surreal to see, empty stadiums, or people had like the cardboard cutouts, to make it kind of look like people were in the stands. And you could tell the energy was different. It's just not as intense, especially being, in Kansas City and knowing how loud our stadiums are when we're doing well. It made a huge difference, and obviously the advantage changed as well. I love this. You guys have been now through two kind of recessions, right? The 2008, 2010, and then kind of into the pandemic, right? And then obviously through the pandemic as well, being a ticketing company. So it kind of leads into my next question. I'm sure social media has helped you guys out, but tell me a little bit about that journey. How has that helped? How much time do you put into it?
Yeah, I mean, I think social media is definitely a critical component to our business, and just even personally. I mean, I've tried to put in a lot of effort on myself in LinkedIn. In my case, I've just done it kind of on the business side, in trying to expand my reach there, and trying to bring awareness to what we're doing. But as a business, no question, we're constantly trying to work out ways where we can expand our reach on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. We've really expanded our reach. Also, from a blog standpoint, we have an entire creative team that does content writing every day. We've put out thousands and thousands of pieces of original content around all of the different performers that we sell tickets for, venues that we sell tickets for, and we've really tried to take time to enhance our blog and our outreach there, and partnering with media companies as well to work to get our name out there. Definitely, social media is a critical component to getting visibility in our space. It's still predominantly dominated by search, whether it's organic search or paid search. Pay-per-click advertising is still the most dominant way that people look for tickets at the moment. But social media and whether it's organically or through paid ads. We've even jumped into the foray of, I'll mention, the NIL world, name, image, likeness world. We have about, I think, upwards of 200 plus athletes that we work with now from universities across the country. A lot of the universities that we already work with, we've worked with athletes. We've partnered with a really great company, Mogul, that's a platform that allows athletes to go and sign up and look at all these different opportunities. And we've had athletes where they'll do a little 20, 30-second video, and then they'll put it out on their social media channels to give awareness to TicketSmarter, and we've seen some success with that as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question is, have you seen kind of a direct conversion from social media to ticket sales? It sounds like you have to some extent.
Yeah, it's definitely a competitive marketplace. Obviously, the fan is hit in a million different ways via email, push notifications, social media ads, through their feeds and streams, and through app pushes, and then of course through Google searches. And it is they're hit with information just left and right. So sometimes, I'm sure for the average fan, it can be dizzying to try to figure out like what to do and where to go to purchase their tickets. So we're trying to continue to find ways to streamline and make things better for the fans, so they know that when they're buying from TicketSmarter, they're getting a good deal, and that they can feel confident that they're going to receive, obviously, a 100% valid ticket, and that we guarantee every single transaction. Because, as you mentioned much earlier in the call, that some people are definitely concerned. They want to make sure that their transaction is valid and their tickets are going to work. And there's no question that is something that people want to be cognizant of when you're buying. You want to make sure you're buying from a reputable company that is going to deliver what they say, and that those tickets are going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. As somebody that watched my dad purchase tickets in a parking lot, and sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. You definitely want to make sure you're getting them from a reputable buyer. Now, Jeff, every superhero has a defining moment, right? All the origin stories. What do you think yours is when it comes to life and career?
I think that, for me, I think that it's back in when we decided in 2012 to take that leap and go on our own. I had a good career, and I was doing well, but I knew that I could always potentially come back to that. But I had to say, okay, we're going to take a leap of faith, and we're, that Heather and I were going to rely on our ability to build a company. And we definitely took a leap to do that. We subsequently brought in my younger brother, Mike, that came on a year later, and obviously have grown the business. We actually sold the business a year ago. I still run it as the CEO, but we sold the business to Digital Ally, and that's been a great opportunity, and allowed us for tremendous growth potential. They've subsequently launched Custom 440 Entertainment, which is a division that actually will put on productions like the Country Roots example I gave at Legends Field. And so that defining moment of saying, hey, we are going to do this ourselves, and it's been nice what we've done the last couple of years, but we're going to go all in on this. And if anything goes wrong, the only fingers you can point at is yourself. But you have to have faith in yourself and a willingness to fail. And I think my one of my key things is I'm willing to adapt. I'm willing to try anything to see if it works, even if it's a crazy idea. Being willing to adapt, and you cannot, definitely in this industry and pretty much any other, you have to be willing to change and willing to try new things. If you try to do exactly what everyone else is doing, most likely there's another person that's going to have more money they can spend and throw at it. And if you're not doing something that is unique or trying something that is creative, you're likely going to get passed by.
Absolutely. That's such a good point. Yeah, so it's really courage, right? It's the courage of, hey, this may work, it may not, and we're kind of worried about it, but hey, we're going to give it a shot anyways, right? In that face of that fear.
It is, and you have to have courage, and you have to have faith in your ability that you're not going to fail. And
Right.
I mean, I know in my case, if my superpower, I don't know if you call it a superpower, but I'm not going to be outworked. You're not going to outwork me. And I am willing to put in whatever it takes in order to succeed. I mean, I think that coming up with creativity, and intelligence to come up with different ideas, that's great and all, but you definitely have to put in the work. And that was something that I learned even from a very early age from my father. I mean, a lot of people don't want to work, that hard, and that's okay. People have to decide what they want to be, what's important to them, and what they value and what they feel is important to them. And for me, it's, I'm going to work whatever it takes, as hard as it takes, to be able to be successful, while still, trying to create a work-life family balance. So that definitely can be a challenge, of course, when you start your own business.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is important, right? I mean, the more balanced that we can be, the more productive we can be when we're working hard. So I'm with you. Working hard is definitely the answer, and you're never going to beat anybody that works harder than everybody else, right? But make some time for yourself there too. It is important.
It definitely gives the opportunities to be able to go to Super Bowls and go to watch the Royals win the World Series back in 2015, and be there in 2014, or go to the All-Star game. So it's it's a fun space that we work in. Obviously, very fast paced, very, very competitive, but definitely enjoyed it. And even though it has been a lot of hard work, and clearly the challenges that we had during the pandemic didn't help, but I think it just made us that much stronger. And it definitely, we took that opportunity to do some very creative things that we weren't doing at that time, and repurposed a lot of our internal employees and assets to try to make us that much stronger when we came out of things a year and a half later, because it did take that long before really things were starting to get back to normal. And I don't know that we're even really fully there yet. I think that attendance is still down for a number of things. Obviously, things like the Super Bowl and the Indy 500, of course, had 300,000 people, and the Super Bowl will be sold out. But there are just your everyday run-of-the-mill events. A lot of people will speak to still being held back, and that's probably less of a pandemic situation and social distancing now, but more of a situation with the economy and what's happened with inflation a little bit, and people's discretionary income maybe being a little bit limited. But I still think that ultimately people will find a way to go to live events, and they should. I mean, it's a great release and a great outlet for people to enjoy live events and enjoy an experience with thousands of other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to go back a little bit. You were talking about some of the hard work that's gotten you to where you are today. And to me, one of the attributes of a hero is hard work. So let me ask you though, what attributes do you what attributes do you feel define a superhero, I should say?
I think that a superhero, I mean, that's interesting to say. I think that I think you had mentioned prior to the call, like, who would I relate to as a superhero? And I was thinking about that a little bit, and I said, I guess Mr. Fantastic, maybe, if I was really, not that I'd find myself really as a superhero, but if you were trying to have me pick something where, based on his ability to adapt and his intelligence, and I think that there are many people out there that are defined as heroes or superheroes, that they have to look at what makes them unique, what makes them successful, or what allows their company or them within their company to succeed and embrace and lean into that. And so that's different for each person, I think, where some people are great at, great communicators, and there are others that are great at executing. There are some people that are great at design or development or whatever it might be. I think that's what you have to look at it. I think in our case, we are trying to continue to innovate and come up with ways that we can reach fans to be able to offer them a way to be able to go to live events in a safe, simple, and economical way.
Yeah, that's awesome. So kind of what I pulled from that was everybody's a hero, right? But everybody's attributes are a little bit different, and really looking at those attributes and the positions that they're in, and leaning on those attributes are the best way to go. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that you can say, I don't think I'm only as good as the people that are around me. So, we have people that are strong at what they do, whether it's related to social media or search engine optimization or paid advertising or our accounting staff or our operational people or our content creation. I mean, no one individual is going to be able to all of those people, I think, make a great, make a hero, make a superhero. A lot of times, I think it's even more so the people behind the scenes that are really or the people that deserve the credit. You have one person that you're talking to me today, but there's so many people that go into making a company great or making an individual look good.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Power Rangers approach, right? Like all
Yes.
5 of them independently or something, right? You put them all
Yes.
together, right? A little bit
Definitely.
different. You don't see what's going on behind the scenes. That's great. So you kind of alluded to our last question a little bit earlier, but if you had to pick a superhero that relates best to you, who would that be and why? I know you had mentioned Mr. Fantastic. Is that who we're thinking of?
I would say probably Mr. Fantastic. I mean, the only other thing I could say maybe, but in a different way, would be Batman, in that, he would have this utility belt that he didn't really have a superpower. He doesn't have a superpower, but he's got all of these tools and technology that allow him to be a superhero. So I think that in some ways, Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, but I think my entire team is our utility belt that allows me to be, me to potentially be a hero or shine or be able to represent, TicketSmarter as a company.
That's awesome. That's such a good answer. Well, Jeff, thank you for coming on the show. How can people keep up with you? How can they find TicketSmarter? Go ahead and talk about everywhere that they can keep up with you.
You can find us a number of ways. Obviously, you can follow me on LinkedIn personally, or request to link with me on LinkedIn. We will post on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can join all of those feeds that we have for TicketSmarter.com, and you'll see concert announcements there or different partnerships that we have going on. You can, when you go to our site, you can accept push notifications on Android devices. iPhone devices that capability should be available from iPhone in the next couple months. And you can additionally sign up. If you go to our website and scroll down from the homepage, there's a spot where you can sign up for offers and discounts. But we're readily available. The best way to get to TicketSmarter is to go directly to TicketSmarter.com. Or if you happen to go to Google and landed on a Google page, make sure you scroll down and click on TicketSmarter.com as the organic listing, not the paid ad. That is the best way to get to us and get your optimum pricing. So that's really the ways to find us. And we are constantly trying to find ways to be better, but we hope that we can find you any opportunity that you're looking for to go to a live event, whether it's the Chiefs or the Royals or Sporting KC or the Roos. you name it, KU, K-State, Mizzou. I don't want to leave anyone out, obviously. Or whether you want to go to a ballet or a symphony, we pretty much have it all covered. So definitely keep us in mind, and I appreciate you taking the time to allowing us to have this conversation and chat, and really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure, Jeff. Yeah, and get out there, save yourself some money on fees, guys. Support the local company here, and get out to these events. TicketSmarter.com. Well, Jeff, thank you again for coming on the show, man.
Thank you, and go Chiefs.
Let's go.